How did we come to understand that 3 pounds of tissue creates consciousness itself? The story begins not with modern laboratories, but with ancient physicians who first dared to look beyond superstition toward the physical brain. This is the first chapter of that remarkable journey. From Egyptian healers documenting head injuries on papyrus, to Greek philosophers challenging the gods themselves about the seat of human thought, we'll witness Hippocrates revolutionizing medicine by seeking natural causes for disease. We'll follow Galen as he maps the nervous system through animal dissection and discover how Islamic scholars preserve this precious knowledge through Europe's darkest centuries. Each breakthrough built upon the last, creating the foundation for everything we understand about the brain today. This is the anatomy of beginnings, where curiosity first turned towards the most complex structure in the known universe, and where the seeds of modern neuroscience were planted in ancient soil. Our journey begins in ancient Egypt, around 1700 BCE, a time when civilization flourished along the Nile. This era is remembered for its monumental architecture, intricate hieroglyphics, and groundbreaking strides in medicine. Among the treasures of this golden age is the Edwin Smith Papyrus, one of the oldest known medical texts in human history. This remarkable document offers an unprecedented glimpse into early medical practices, where empirical observations coexisted with mythical beliefs. Interestingly, the year 1822 marked 2 pivotal moments in the preservation of ancient knowledge. Jean-François Champollion's deciphering of hieroglyphics unlocked the secrets of Egyptian writing, allowing scholars to delve deeper into the past. In the same year, Edwin Smith, the antiquities dealer who would later acquire this papyrus, was born. 4 decades later, Smith's acquisition ensured this vital piece of medical history would endure for future generations. The Edwin Smith Papyrus stands out not just for its age, but for its scientific precision. Unlike other medical texts of the time, which often relied on spells and religious incantations, this papyrus approaches human anatomy and injuries with a practical and methodical lens. It is the earliest known text to reference the brain, cerebrospinal fluid, and the effects of brain injuries on motor and sensory functions. Egyptian physicians were keen observers of human physiology. In the bustling temples and workshops, they noted how head trauma could impair motor control and sensory perception, recognizing the brain's essential role in governing bodily functions. Imagine for a moment that you are an Egyptian physician, likely skilled in setting bones and treating wounds, when a patient arrives with a head injury that appears minor. The skin heals, the bleeding stops, but something has changed. This person who once spoke eloquently now struggles to find words. Their personality seems altered, as if a stranger now inhabits their body. Without understanding why, these ancient healers witnessed the brain's profound influence over human identity. These insights marked a pivotal moment in the understanding of the human body. So while Mesopotamian physicians looked to omens and divine intervention to diagnose illness, the Egyptians charted a different course. Their efforts laid the groundwork for empirical medicine, blending observation with a rudimentary understanding of anatomy. This progressive approach to medicine may have been influenced by the mummification process, which allowed them to study internal organs. While they did not yet grasp the full scope of the brain's significance, their documentation of its structure and injuries set a foundation for future discoveries. The Edwin Smith Papyrus stands as a testament to ancient curiosity and the enduring human drive to understand the body and its mysteries. Today, this extraordinary document resides at the New York Academy of Medicine, continuing to inspire those who seek to uncover the origins of scientific thought. Our journey into the history of neuroscience now takes us to 460 BCE, to the sunlit shores of the Greek island of Kos. Here, amidst a burgeoning era of philosophy and science, Hippocrates was born. Often hailed as the father of medicine, Hippocrates was a trailblazer who dared to challenge the prevailing beliefs of his time. In a world where illness was widely attributed to the whims of angry gods or malevolent spirits, Hippocrates revolutionized medical thinking by seeking natural causes for diseases. Among his most radical propositions was the idea that the brain, and not the heart, was the seat of intelligence and emotion, a notion that stood in stark contrast to the cultural norms of his era. Hippocrates lived during a vibrant intellectual period, alongside figures like Pythagoras and Democritus, who were redefining mathematics and the early understanding of the natural world. His famous humoral theory suggested that health depended on the balance of 4 vital fluids: blood, yellow bile, black bile, and phlegm. While this theory was later disproven, it marked a critical shift from supernatural to physiological explanations of health and disease. Hippocrates transformed medical practice through systematic observation, careful diagnosis, and reasoned treatment, establishing the foundations for evidence-based medicine. By recognizing the brain's central role in thought and emotion, he planted the earliest seeds of neuroscience and forever changed how humanity understood medicine and health. As the ancient world transitioned from Greek to Roman dominance, the torch of medical knowledge passed to one of history's most influential figures, Galen of Pergamon. Born in 129 CE into a privileged family, Galen was destined for a life of intellectual pursuits. His father, a wealthy architect, encouraged his education, ensuring that Galen was exposed to philosophy, mathematics, and the sciences from an early age. Galen's medical journey took him to Alexandria, one of the most renowned centers of learning in the ancient world. There he trained in anatomy and medicine, though societal taboos prohibited human dissection. Undeterred, Galen turned to primates and other animals, honing his skills as both a physician and anatomist. His meticulous studies revealed groundbreaking insights, particularly into the spine and spinal cord, which form the foundation for understanding the central nervous system. While Galen's observations were remarkably accurate for his time, they were also shaped by the philosophical lens of his era. He adhered to Plato's concept of a 3-part soul, believing that the brain's ventricles housed the rational soul. This framework had a profound impact on Galen's approach to the brain. The ventricles weren't simply spaces in the brain. They were sacred chambers where all of one's reason is located. To Galen, mental illness wasn't merely a medical condition. It was a total disruption of the soul's rational capacity. This blend of empirical observation and adherence to Platonic idealism influenced how physicians understood the brain and illness for over 1,000 years. Galen's influence extended far beyond his lifetime. His anatomical precision was filtered through a lens that saw the brain as both a physical organ and a spiritual vessel, a duality that would advance and constrain neuroscience for centuries to come. This influence proved to be remarkably resilient, enduring even as the civilization that created it crumbled around it. The fall of the Roman Empire in the 5th century brought widespread instability to Europe, fragmenting institutions and stalling scientific progress for centuries. In this vacuum, theology often overshadowed inquiry, and much of the medical and scientific knowledge from the ancient world risked being forgotten. However, the pursuit of knowledge did not come to a halt everywhere. In the Islamic world, the flame of intellectual curiosity burned bright. Scholars such as Avicenna and Al-Razi preserved Greek and Roman medical texts while expanding them with groundbreaking innovations. Avicenna's The Canon of Medicine became a cornerstone of medical education, introducing methods of clinical observation and experimental medicine that remained influential for centuries. Similarly, Al-Razi's meticulous approach to diagnosis and treatment advanced the understanding of diseases and their cause. These scholars were part of the Islamic Golden Age, a period spanning from the 8th to the 13th century, when Baghdad, Damascus, and Cordoba became epicenters of learning, housing massive libraries and universities dedicated to advancing science, medicine, and philosophy. During this time, the Islamic world preserved ancient texts while synthesizing and innovating upon them with remarkable advances. Works in anatomy, physiology, and the nervous system laid the groundwork for later scientific revolutions, even though much of this knowledge wouldn't reach Europe until centuries later. Meanwhile, Europe experienced profound socio-political upheaval that reshaped the trajectory of knowledge. The Black Plague in the 14th century decimated the population, disrupting societal norms and eroding faith in established institutions like the church. This period of crisis fostered a growing hunger for observation and experimentation as people sought explanations beyond divine intervention. Rediscovered ancient Greek and Roman texts, often reintroduced via the Islamic world, served as a spark for the Renaissance, a rebirth of intellectual and cultural pursuits in the 15th and 16th centuries. The Renaissance marked a turning point for science and medicine. Artists and anatomists like Leonardo da Vinci began dissecting human bodies to study anatomy firsthand, defying centuries of taboo and dogma. The printing press, invented by Johannes Gutenberg in the mid-15th century, accelerated the dissemination of knowledge, making ancient and contemporary scientific works accessible to a broader audience. This newfound access to information propelled medicine and science into transformative eras, setting the stage for revolutions in understanding the brain and body. At this stage in history, what we now call neuroscience didn't yet exist. These early ideas, observations, and theories formed the foundation for what would later become the field of neuroscience. This is its history, not of a defined science, but of the evolving understanding that made modern neuroscience possible. These early pioneers had identified the brain as the seat of thought and mapped its basic anatomy. But countless mysteries remained locked away. How were the brain's structures connected? Why did some regions seem more critical than others? The ancients had asked all the right questions and laid sound groundwork, but the answers would require something Galen never had: the ability to look directly into the human brain itself. The Renaissance would finally break the taboos that had constrained anatomical knowledge, revealing the brain's true architecture through works like De Humani Corporis Fabrica, and forever changing how we see ourselves. As we leave this chapter, the knowledge preserved in dusty scrolls stands ready to inspire a new generation of thinkers. The Renaissance fundamentally transformed human knowledge rather than simply rediscovering it. In the next installment, we'll dive into the period of rebirth and revelation, where figures like Vesalius and Willis began mapping the brain in ways that forever changed our understanding of ourselves. If you enjoyed this dive into the early days of neuroscience, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated on future episodes. Share your thoughts or questions in the comments below. I'd love to hear what fascinates you most about the history of neuroscience. See you in Act 2.